From the plains to the rolling hills, Oklahoma is a state that resonates with stories of resilience, determination, and pride. Welcome to Inside the 1581, a podcast of the Oklahoma Hospital Association. Together, we'll dive deep into the heartbeat of the great state of Oklahoma as we journey through the rich history, diverse culture, and the ever-evolving landscape within the 1,581 miles of border in our nation's 20th largest state. Each episode of Inside the 1581 will feature conversations with the many voices which help shape our state's future and our shared vision of improving health and healthcare in Oklahoma.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Inside the 1581. I'm Rich Rasmussen. I'm President and CEO of the Oklahoma Hospital Association, and we've been on a summer hiatus, and a lot has happened over the course of the summer. We had the big, beautiful bill and the potential impact it's going to have on hospitals. In our state, it's about $6.7 billion over the next 10 years in terms of reductions in reimbursement to hospitals. So that's going to hurt. And it's going to make it even harder for us as we work to attract new talent. In fact, it'll be tough all across the country. Almost $1 trillion is being taken away from healthcare. And so this week, we are going to be talking about the Oklahoma Center for Nursing. And we'll be talking about maybe some strategies that we'll be able to deploy that can help us in addressing some of the workforce stresses that we're going to find ourselves in. And so I'm really delighted to have joining with me two exceptional nursing leaders. I have Patrice Greenawalt, who's the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Center for Nursing. Patrice, welcome.
Thank you, Rich.
And I've got Kristen Webb, who's the President of the Board of Directors of the Oklahoma Center for Nursing, as well as Vice President of Patient Care Services and the Chief Nursing Officer at DRH Health in Duncan. Kristen, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, I know this is the first time you've been on Inside the 1581, right?
Correct.
So just so you know, okay, we're not going to have any very important earth-shattering information, right? So it's not going to be like the New Heights announcement from the Kelsey brothers that one of them is getting married to Taylor Swift. Okay, so nothing like that. But we're going to talk about really important stuff here. So, were you surprised at the announcement of Taylor and Travis getting married? Were you guys surprised?
No, it's about time.
About time?
Yeah.
I tell you, it was. All of my daughters texted me within 2 minutes of one another as soon as it hit. It was, as one of them called it, it's the American royal wedding. But our podcast won't be that exciting. Right. But we're going to talk about good stuff here. Yeah. So, okay. But thank you guys for joining us. Before we get started, let's learn a little bit about Patrice and Kristen. So I'm going to start with Kristen first. Tell us about yourself, Kristen. The role that you play at DRH. What got you into nursing? Because I'm sure there's a great story there. And we'll just start with that. That's our opening teaser for you.
Well, Rich, I've been a nurse for 30 years now, this year, 30 years. And
Does it seem like yesterday?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, unless I need to bend over and pick something up off the floor, and then it's definitely 30 years ago. But my family has always been in healthcare. My grandmother was an LPN in our local community. My mother worked as a healthcare receptionist in local offices, and nursing just seemed to be a fit for me. And nursing is the multi-tool of healthcare. You get a degree as a registered nurse, and you can do so many things with that degree, whether it's in the hospital or in clinics or out, even working for the horrible insurance companies. But it's been a great career. I always encourage people to go into that if they're interested in health careers. But I've been at DRH almost my entire career.
So were you born and raised in Duncan or near there?
I've been in Southwest Oklahoma most of my life,
except
for a little bit of a stint in Texas that we don't talk about in our family.
Not if you're an OU fan.
No, but beyond that, I'm born and raised Boomer Sooner, and have worked in the Duncan community in Southwest Oklahoma most of my career. Raised my family there. I love the rural market and the communities that we serve and the hometown feel that we get in the rural areas. And I started my career as an ICU nurse, moved into surgery, loved surgery, kind of fell into leadership, and then as the opportunities became available, the chief nursing officer position was open, and I've been doing that for about 6 years. Started right before COVID, which has been a fun jaunt into leadership, but it was really great how we pulled together as a healthcare organization and throughout our state within healthcare. We really coalesced and worked together, and that is continuing on as we come out of the pandemic. And it's great to have this Center of Nursing as part of that.
Well, I agree. And I think for young nurses, too, coming in, knowing that their peers or their folks who have helped to mentor them have gone through some of the adversity and some of the challenges, they know they can lean on because they've been there, right? Regardless of what the new challenges that we have in the field today, they know that that leadership, whether it is the charge nurse or it's the CNO, they've been there. And I think there's a great deal of confidence in our nursing leaders all across the country for what we've gone through. Now, Patrice, you also have had a distinguished career in nursing. You've done nursing direct patient care, but you've also done policy development. You're kind of responsible for part of the creation of our state's trauma system. So it kind of gives folks, I'll let you talk a little bit about yourself, but I think it gives us two examples of folks that have leveraged their nursing degrees and their advanced nursing degrees in different ways, but still having impact on healthcare.
Yeah, I've had a terrific career in nursing. And when I think back on the opportunities I've had, they're stepping stones one to the other. And so my clinical background is in trauma and emergency nursing. That was my first position right out of nursing school, but I begged for a nurse aide job in the emergency room before I graduated. So I wasn't new to that.
Were you a candy striper too at one point?
I was.
Were you a candy striper too, Kristen?
We didn't call it that in the 90s.
Not everybody called them that, but that's kind of,
yes.
Well, you just showed your age versus mine. Candy stripers, right? That's where you started.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been a nurse for 44 years, so I claim candy striper. And so while I was working in the emergency room, I was able to get some scholarships from the hospital where I was working for a couple of semesters of graduate school. And then I took a position with the state health department as a hospital surveyor. And I did that. I worked in several areas in public health. I worked in epidemiology, the hospital surveyor, and also then I was hired for the third time at the state health department to set up the trauma system for our state when the legislation passed in 2000. So I've had some great opportunities that led me from stair-stepped all of those. I've also worked for the Board of Nursing for 14 years. I was Associate Director for Nursing Practice, so I handled a lot of the clinical issues that came up in licensing and advanced practice licensing, and was there for the advent of prescriptive authority. So policy making, working with legislation has always been part of what I've done in the past.
And having good, strong, effective policy is important as we shape, how the field of nursing evolves over time. And literally where we are today, I would argue in Oklahoma, we're continuing to evolve the profession. And one of the ways we've evolved it is through the creation of the Oklahoma Center for Nursing. We're one of the last states in the nation to create it. And thankfully, nursing leaders across the state have stepped up and rallied in support of the mission of the Center for Nursing. And certainly the leadership of the Oklahoma Hospital Association have endorsed this, and creating a real venue for creative thought, best practice development, all of those things that go into creating the ideal nursing environment, but also what we can do to support the profession. And so I'll pause there. Patrice, you're running it. So, it's a tall order. And so what can you tell us about the Center for Nursing, and perhaps what inspired its creation?
The Center for Nursing has been something we've talked about for a while in terms of workforce development. And last year, in 2024, OHA conducted a workforce survey, and we looked at retention, recruitment challenges, a lot of data points for nursing and all other healthcare professions. And what we discovered in trying to really look at the data, which had not been evaluated in quite some time. 2018 was the last state survey of nursing data. Our turnover rate is higher than the national average. So our turnover rate in Oklahoma is 22.3%.
So for folks that are listening, if they don't understand turnover rate, it's when folks leave the workforce. So we're constantly having to refresh, adding 22% of our nursing workforce every year.
That's correct. And not only is it disruptive in terms of scheduling for patient care, it's expensive to hire nurses and to train them and for them to become comfortable in their work setting. So that was the beginning of creating this Oklahoma Center for Nursing. Support from OHA leadership and was tremendous in that and paving the way to create the center, and the support from OHA with getting the nonprofit set up and applying for 501c3 status.
And why the need for 501c3? I can guess that it's to help with grants and philanthropy, but some of the thought behind that.
It is for us to be able to obtain grants and have tax-exempt status for those donors as we continue to seek ongoing and sustaining support for the center work.
And that's important because literally the only support that's going to keep it going is the support from the nursing community and from the employer community, from the hospital community. So anyone who's listening that has a real passion for nursing and wanting to see the profession continue to develop, they could easily reach out to the Oklahoma Center for Nursing to look for, hey, how can I support you?
Exactly. That's true.
And I'm looking here. I have a suspicion here that Susie Wallace had something to do with the Oklahoma Center for Nursing website, which looks pretty cool.
We are so excited. Susie had a lot to do with the website, which launched last week.
okcenterfornursing.org.
Correct.
But I do see some familiar faces. There was a scene of a bunch of people in a room together, and it says it was the Leadership Summit. Tell me about this Leadership Summit, because I think there's another one coming up.
Yes, we held our first Oklahoma Center for Nursing Leadership Summit in October of 2024. And the purpose of the summit was to bring stakeholders together to talk about, first of all, to get enthusiasm for the center and energy, and also to talk with stakeholders about what is important for the center to do for nursing in Oklahoma. What are the issues facing nursing in our state? We had a tremendous response. There were over 100 people that attended, and it was held here at OHA. And we had a facilitator that did small group discussion, and we identified pages of what nurses and other stakeholders, so stakeholders include employers, academia, practicing nurses, nurses of all levels, state agencies regulating nursing, and professional organizations that came together to talk about what are the issues most important to them in nursing, impacting nursing in our state. So I feel like that was really the launch of the center.
Sure.
That was just a tremendous day, very empowering for me to know how to proceed forward with what do nurses want in Oklahoma? What do employers want and need? What are the gaps between practice and academia and practice, or the practice setting and career advancement? So from that list that was identified during the 2024 summit, we put those ideas into 5 bucket areas. And those bucket areas have formed the work of the board moving forward. And so those 5 buckets: recruitment and retention, education and training, career development, cross-sectional and institutional partnerships, and policy and funding. So right now, since our last board meeting, which was in July, 3 of the 5 committees have been established with meeting dates created through 2026. So
you're on your way, right? You guys have some momentum coming out of that meeting, which is going to take you into the next summit, which I believe is next month?
Yes, October 7th.
October 7th.
And it'll be our second annual leadership summit. Registration information is out there. It's on our website.
Yeah, it's on okcenterfornursing.org.
Yep.
They can get it. So let me ask you a question. I'm going to switch to Kristen for a second. So Kristen, you're in a unique position, right? So you're chairing the board for the center. You're active practicing nurse. You're in a role of leadership. You're in a role of probably driving some strategy. You're in the role of being the model for all of the nurses in your organization. And you're probably the chief recruiter in some sense when you go around town. Tell us how you see kind of what you're doing and your peers are doing aligning with what the Center for Nursing is doing, or is the Center for Nursing amplifying the work that you're trying to do?
I believe it's amplifying. A year ago, in October a year ago, we walked in that room with a concept, and to be here less than 12 months later with an established board who's had a few meetings and now established our work groups. I mean, this is a tremendous amount of work in a very short amount of time for a very diverse population of, and let's be honest, nurses are opinionated individuals, and we have strong personalities to do what we do. So to have us coalesce and get together.
And you're critical thinkers and you're leaders.
Yeah, it was a tremendous amount. So Patrice has done a great job of pulling it all together. But for those of us who are out in the field doing the work, to have the Oklahoma Center of Nursing as a place to come it's a think tank, really. And it's a way where we can share ideas, network with each other, and start to develop throughout our state how we want nursing to move forward. What has been before 2020 is not what we are going to have moving forward. The demand for healthcare services is going to increase, and the supply of nursing workforce is not going to be adequate to meet that demand. We have to be innovative in how we design and redesign our workforce strategies, where we deploy nursing to and the support we have to give along with nursing to do the work that we've always done, to take care of our patients and our populace the way they need to be taken care of. We're not getting much healthier, particularly in Oklahoma. So the work is tremendous and the burden is very high. But I think this is the perfect timing for our state to have the center developed, because we really during COVID had an opportunity to. We've always networked in the hospital settings through OHA and other organizations. We've always shared things and worked together. But during COVID, we realized nursing home partners, assisted livings, the clinics and urgent cares and other places, we were all going through the same chaos, and we needed to work together and share ideas, and we're all in the same boat. We ought to be rowing in the same direction. And so I think we are perfectly poised right now to get together, particularly in nursing, and the Oklahoma Center for Nursing gives us that vehicle to pull nursing together and drive us forward in our state, and it's a very exciting time.
Well, and I think, too, what's really unique about the center, it is very diverse in terms of those that are involved in nursing. So whether it's Kristen or Patrice, maybe you can talk about who some of the folks are that are represented on your board, because I know you've got folks from the academic community or Native community. Tell us a little bit about who the folks are that are on the board, because what's great about it is it really captures everyone who's involved in the field in our state.
Yes, we tried to develop a board that was representative of the diversity in our in our state, and representative of different areas. So we have a board member from the Tulsa Health Department, JP, Julia Prophet Williams. We have a public member, Andy Oden. We've got Benjamin Lawley, who's with mental health in Oakwood Springs and out of Tulsa. Stephanie Beecham is representative of the state regents, and Laura Morris of Career Tech. We have Carrie Bear with SSM Health, so another a large system in Oklahoma, And you, as a representative of OHA, we have a rehab center nurse participating, Misty Peterson, and then Emily Kopic, the Vice President of Clinical Excellence at OHA, also participates in our meetings.
So again, you've got, from an employer perspective, if we look at it from that way, we've got broad representation from that. We've got it from the academic community. We got it from our career tech. Because I think when we look at nursing, we can't ignore the fact that what's important in the field is that we have all, delivery sites covered. Whether it's you're working career tech, it's LPN, or it's an associate degree nursing, all the way up to master's and PhD degree nursing opportunities. We've kind of covered that base for folks that have the opportunity to have influence.
We also have a representative from the Indigenous Nurses Association
Absolutely.
in our state who's brought tremendous information to the board. And I'm learning a lot from her about the cultural impact of how we care for our Native Oklahomans.
And she gave a really good message the last time we met, as you remember, about how we address, I think, dignity in dying. And I thought was very impactful to me, I think, in the story that she was telling. So we're going to take a little break here. And when we come back, Kristen, I want you to share with us a little bit about the blend that's going on in DRH, where you all have brought in higher ed onto your campus to really create an extension of what the University of Oklahoma is doing to train our next generation of nurses in your community, and then how you see some of the things that are innovations like that being able to be fostered within the Center of Nursing. So when we come back to this episode of Inside the 1581, we're going to pick up on that conversation. But first, we're going to say thank you to our sponsors at Forefront Healthcare. And they've got a little bit of message to share with our listeners on what they can do to transform your organization's culinary services, your environmental services, physical plant management. And I think they're at DRH Health.
They are.
And they have great food, don't they?
They have wonderful
They have wonderful food. So we're going to listen to the folks at Forefront Healthcare, and we're going to come back. Looking to elevate your support services? Forefront Healthcare is a leading provider of food, environmental services, and facility management to hospitals all across the country, and was recently recognized as a 2023 Top 100 Best Places to Work by Modern Healthcare magazine. So to learn more about Forefront Healthcare and how they can help elevate your patient, staff, and family experience at your facility, visit forefronthealthcare.com or call 1-800-684-6450. Welcome back to this edition of Inside the 1581. We're talking today with Patrice Greenawalt, who's the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Center for Nursing, and Kristen Webb, who chairs the Board of Directors for the Oklahoma Center for Nursing, but is also the Vice President of Patient Care Services and Chief Nursing Officers at DRH Health in Duncan. And Kristen, before we broke, I kind of teased out something that you guys are doing that's pretty cool, and it may very well be a model that can be picked up by other hospitals, and that is that you actually have a nursing school on your campus. Tell us about that and how that came about.
We do. Back in the early 2000s, we were utilizing contract staff to fill our gaps of nursing workforce, and that's not a great model. Contract staff, they're travelers, they're temporary, and we knew we needed, our community deserved to have full-time staff there that was bought in and interested in making the hospital and the patient care there the top quality that it could be. So, it became one of those almost Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. That's an older reference as well.
It's a great movie. So, yeah. It's absolutely a great movie. Go visit the field in Iowa if you get a chance.
I will try to.
Yeah.
But so we built the DRH Learning Center and partnered with the University of Oklahoma for a traditional bachelor's program. And at the time, we also partnered with an associate degree program at Western State out of Altus. And that was the dream, to have an associate degree program, a bachelor's program in Duncan. So it gave our citizens in Duncan the opportunity to get a nursing degree and never have to leave their hometown. That has worked very well. We've had some changes with that model over the years, but currently we still have the University of Oklahoma there with their bachelor's program. It's actually a campus site for them now, and not just a offshoot. So we've been very excited to have that partnership. They've been great to work with. Dr. Kraft has been wonderful. We are now partnering with Murray State out of Tishomingo, and they're bringing their traditional associate degree program to the campus. So the students are able to have a classroom there across the street from the hospital, fully set up. The schools are able to utilize that free of charge. And we've even got a simulation lab set up that our foundation fundraises for. And we have high fidelity simulation mannequins, mid fidelity. And so the students are able to do their practice simulation clinicals right there on the campus as well, and then come to the hospital and do their live patient clinicals. So it's been a great partnership. We are able to hire out of those programs as they graduate, and those students have already been in our facility, kind of know.
Are they staying? Is that become your feeder now?
It's become the feeder,
Sure.
And we have a very good retention rate. We've always believed if you create a good culture in your work environment, then people will want to stay, so you just got to get them in your door. And so that helps us to get students in our door, and then we are able to recruit them to stay with us. We've had a great retention rate from that, and it has, at the time when we opened in 2009, we eliminated contract nurses, and we had no contract nurses on campus at DRH until COVID in 2021, and then we didn't have any other choice. And now we're back with still utilizing contract nurses, but this is the model that will get us back. It's worked before, we know it'll work again, and so we are moving forward with these universities and colleges to build that. We also have a great relationship with our local tech center, Red River Technology Center, and they have an LPN program, very great, strong program, so we're able to produce LPNs out of that. And OU and Murray State both have LPN to RN pathways, so if you can get somebody who maybe can't do college right away, but they want to become a nurse, put them in the LPN program, let them.
How long does that usually take? The
takes
bridge
9
program?
months. Well,
Really?
The
LPN
bridge,
to RN.
Depends if you're going bachelor's or associate.
Okay.
Could take up a couple of years with getting prerequisites and things in. But we also have Cameron University that has a campus in Duncan. So again, you don't have to leave Duncan to be able to get these.
Well, that's
degrees,
a great story, too, and that's an example of an innovation, clearly. And that's part of what the Center for Nursing is designed to do, is to cultivate these innovations, collect data that can help empower us with decision-making. Patrice, talk about, is there anything that's cooking right now at the Center for Nursing related to any transformation, any new ideas, or are you guys still in the laboratory mode where you're collecting information and collecting concepts that are being deployed across the state?
Well, both, actually. There's a lot being cultivated as our advisory committees meet. We're collecting data. We're looking at educational programs that work with certain hospitals, trying to figure out who partners with whom already. We are looking at which facilities have mentorship programs, earn to learn, internship, and so forth. So that, and put that information out there, because it's very difficult.
Learn to earn, or earn to learn. Explain that, because that's for some folks that might be listening in, if they're not for themselves but for their children or their grandchildren. Explain that.
It's the ability to work and also get college credit for that work. So there are programs there are hospitals that have programs, but we don't know where all of them are. We're in the process of surveying to try to get that information and put it on our website, so that people considering a career in nursing can go to a one-stop shop, our website, to get information like that.
So you were talking within our field, right, in the field of nursing. but I'm sure there are folks who would like to find a way to get involved. Maybe it's a high school or middle school teacher. Maybe it's someone who's running a HOSA program, as an example. How would somebody get involved with the Center for Nursing? Maybe not sitting at the governance table, but wanting to contribute and wanting to learn from what you guys are doing. How would they do that?
Well, we have been present at HOSA events in our state. So the Health Occupation Student Association, that brought 4,000 students together at the last statewide meeting, might have been up to 7,000. And we host a table where we talk with students who may be interested in nursing and trying to help them get information. On our website, there's an ability to submit a question. We can help find answers to questions for those considering a nursing career. We also partner with other organizations, for example, the Youth Medical Mentorship Organization, where that group brings middle school and high school youth together.
I think we had someone on that just not long ago on our podcast. So for our listeners, go back through your Spotify or your Apple podcast, and you can find that episode where we kind of highlighted the work that they're doing. But go ahead.
Yeah, Jake Cleveland is the program director, and I actually had a call with Dr. McNeil this morning. He was the founder of the Youth Medical Mentorship Program, where they bring together nurses, physicians, respiratory therapists, veterinarians, other healthcare occupations, and students can do on-site simulation with them. So a great example for me was I was able to do laparoscopic surgery in a sim lab. Never had that experience before, and it was absolutely phenomenal.
And the simulation survived, right?
The simulation survived.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. It's like what is that game that the kids play? I'm looking at Alex here. What's the one where they make the little blocks and they make the characters out of the blocks? I forget what it's called. Minecraft. See, you knew that.
Yes.
Minecraft.
I was a child.
Okay. Well, and you see it all the time, people playing with Minecraft. Yes. So I kind of imagine, again, if you're a listener and you love to work with technology, there's a place in nursing for technology. Yes. There's a place in all of medical for technology because we need folks that have that certain level of acumen and skills in the field because it's going to continue to evolve.
Yes. What we know from what we've learned from our HOSA experiences, from youth medical mentorship partners, and through literature is we know that early exposure to healthcare careers is a driving force for a student to make that choice. So when we polled our participants at our HOSA booth, what makes you interested in a healthcare career? It's the fact that someone in their family member has been ill and they've been impacted by a caregiver. They have a family member who's in that field. They've had exposure through HOSA or youth medical mentorship. And for that reason, my sister and I, my sister is a registered nurse and a nursing educator. We're going back to our high school in November to talk about nursing as a career option, which is going to be a highlight.
That's actually pretty cool, to be able to do that, to go back to where you started and impart your experience. We're a little over a year into this with the center, and you guys are already seeing, right? You see where you planted that seed corn. You see where it has the opportunity to grow. How do you see it? And I'll start with you, Kristen. How do you see the Center for Nursing evolving over time? I know one of the challenges that we're going to have is sustainable financing for it to keep it going, and that's going to be important. Most states, their legislatures have either appropriated dollars for their centers for nursing, and they lean on them for technical assistance and insights into the field. Some may use a licensing fee that practicing nurses will pay a very nominal addition to their license fee to keep it going. And some use philanthropy. Here at OHA, we're supporting the Center for Nursing today, but there'll be some work to do to ensure that we have long-term funding for it. But how do you see it evolving over time and the work they're doing?
It's hard to imagine how it exactly will evolve, but it certainly will. And why I know that to be fact is we've got so many nurses that are driving it currently, and we're building it from the ground up. So
using Minecraft?
Well, something sort of like
Okay.
Minecraft.
All right.
So as things are changing in our industry and our academic pathways, this gets to evolve with it because it's not a static entity. It's created by the people who are actually doing the work, who are invested in nursing and the nursing workforce in Oklahoma. And so as things happen in healthcare, and they do every year, changes, policies change and science changes, then the Center for Nursing will be evolving with that as well. So it'll be so exciting to see where we will end up. But I think we will have a very strong partnership in academics. We really need that because it takes a lot of resources to train nurses. You can produce a whole lot of accountants out of a university, but with only a few professors, but it really takes a lot of instructors to train nurses. So, and nursing instructors don't make as much money as a nurse that works at a hospital. So we have opportunities to partner in the hospital and other industry settings to help our academic partners be able to fill those gaps, to train more nurses so we can continue to feed the workforce.
Well, I agree. And I think as we have young people looking at where the career pathway is for me today with what many, and I hear it from my kids, the threats of artificial intelligence, what careers are they going to take away? It's hard to imagine technologies like that taking away, the role of a nurse and the required critical thinking skills that they need. It might help them with some decision making and helping amplify the diagnosis, but you're still going to need that person to be able to deliver that, one-on-one care. And so with these potential changes, right, as we see the field evolve, I think it's important that we do have the academic community at the table at the Center for Nursing, because sometimes it's harder for them to move unless the employer community helps them with that, because they have their own inherent challenges in moving, the work that they do. I know coming out of Florida, it was very difficult for our schools of nursing to embrace bridge programs, but they're really important. And particularly if you live in rural communities, you might have the ability to receive that associate's degree program locally. But if you want to get to the BSN, it was harder. So creating bridge programs is really important because we all want to see bachelor's prepared nurses at a minimum in all of our hospitals, but it's hard to get there.
Sure.
So I know you do have academic leaders participating. How do you see what the Center for Nursing is doing in that cross-pollination that takes place from those are nurse leaders and those that are involved in the education of our students?
They're talking. They're talking
and that's
to
important.
each other.
That's my point.
The doors of communication have opened as they haven't really done traditionally in the past. And that's been really exciting. And so we've got to think outside the box. I had someone approach me the other day and said, what about creating a program where people who graduate from high school come out with an RN degree? Now, I don't know how that would work, but
they're doing it with LPN now.
Yeah. But the communication is what's really happened, and that's new.
Yeah, I agree. And when we're all at the table and talking, then the academic partners understand the challenges that we're seeing with the graduate nurses' practice readiness, and we're able to help them get those nurses where we need them, those graduates for practice readiness, better if we partner together. And it also helps them to be able to extend their workforce in the academic realm to be able to take more students in. It's always a tragedy when they feel like they had to turn a qualified student away. Right. Maybe he or she got into another program. Nobody knows. We're not tracking that in the state. So it may just be we've got people that want to become a nurse or qualified to become a nurse, but they're just having to wait to get in a program. So it's great, though, to have be able to extend that, open more seats. That's what Duncan was able to do, is get 20 more seats of potential RN students for OU, more for Murray State. It's not that hospitals are getting more funding, because, as you know, we're not.
We're going to be cut $6.7 billion over the next 10 years. Absolutely.
And so we've got to use that what money we have smartly.
Sure.
And we need to be able to have a return on investment. But investing in the nursing workforce is a return on investment, because it allows us to have services that we can grow. And that's our mission, and particularly in the hospitals, take care of those
Absolutely.
patients.
And I think when you have the employer community and the educators within the field, higher ed, career tech, it gives us an opportunity to really feed them with what is going on in the field where the care is being delivered. And I think that's really important. I mean, I'd give you an example. My son thought I was really encouraging him to go into nursing, right? And as he got into it, he was looking at the curriculum. We were looking at it together. And what struck me was that in all of the courses, there was nothing in the coursework related to financial literacy for nurses. Yet they have such a role in how we utilize the resources that we have, and the need to understand how that interacts with payment. Nothing in there. Now, he then switched to radiation technology, which he's happy with that. But I look at it as one example of how, as what we deal with is the largest employer of hospitals, our largest employer of nurses, the importance that we have influence over the education that's going to make a better prepared nurse in a marketplace that's changing rapidly.
Absolutely.
And so to me, it's exciting to have our academic partners at the table with us. As we get ready to wrap this up, just a quick question for both of you. Both of you have great, long-established, esteemed careers in nursing. And so, simple question, what would be your message to any listener about the future of nursing? What would you tell? What would you tell a young person today about the future of nursing, or a young charge nurse or staff nurse that you've done your rounds in, you've done your safety huddles in? What would you tell them about the future of nursing today?
I think the future of nursing is very bright. We continue to be the largest workforce in healthcare. That's not going to change. You cannot run a hospital without a nurse. So job security is definitely there for choosing this as a career. And nurses have, in the Gallup polls, every year, minus 1 year, been the most trusted profession in the United States. So we're highly esteemed as a profession. The opportunities are tremendous for nursing, and I think it's probably the best career choice that a young person can make.
How about you, Patrice?
Nursing is a wonderful opportunity to do whatever you want to do. There are so many different places that you can work, and more employment settings are becoming more accommodating to a new nurse, especially, and to nurses with work hours. Some facilities have childcare available. It can work for you and your family. It is in Oklahoma, the income makes it possible for you to own a home.
That's important. I mean, when you think about it, you very few folks can come out of school with an associate's degree, no matter, and own a home. And I don't even think a school teacher can do that, but you can as a nurse.
That's right. So it's a fabulous career for you, for your family. You'll never be bored, because if you want to do something different, you can go do something different. Like I did in my 44 years, I've had a lot of different opportunities in my career, and it's been wonderful. Each one of them have been wonderful, and there, of course, are things that I'd like to change in all of them, but I was able to do that. You can be the change. You can make the change. You can come up with the idea for the change. It's phenomenal.
Well, I will argue it's a calling, right? I mean, some people, punch a clock. We don't do that. We're called into this work. And I think there's very few career choices that truly are career choices where you're chosen to do this. And I think that's what's something that's really remarkable when you work in healthcare, particularly in nursing, that it's in your core DNA, I think, and oftentimes for nurses. I want to thank you both for spending this time with us, talk about the Center for Nursing, talk about your careers, and then your very optimistic view of the future of nursing. So I want to thank you. And so joining us in this edition of Inside the 1581 has been Patrice Greenawalt, who's the Executive Director of the newly created Oklahoma Center for Nursing. We've been in business for about a year, and she's helping to lead that. And also joining us today is Kristen Webb, who is the chair of the board of the the Oklahoma Center for Nursing, as well as the vice president of patient care services and the chief nursing officer at DRH Health. Thank you guys for joining us. And so as we wrap up, I want to say thank you for all of you that are listening to this edition of Inside the 1581. And I hope you enjoyed our episode on the Oklahoma Center for Nursing. But before we go, I want to extend a huge thank you to our incredible sponsors at Forefront Healthcare, who we heard a great testimony from Kristen here, how great their bacon is.
The bacon is wonderful.
The bacon, I heard about this. Nothing like walking in and smelling bacon or fresh bread, But we do want to thank the folks at Forefront Healthcare and our producer, Alex Taylor, for making the podcast happen, as always, and helping us with Minecraft, too, because I had a brain fart on that one there, as well as our Vice President of Strategic Communications, Susie Wallace. Please make sure you subscribe and follow us and stay up to date on our future episodes. You can do that through Apple Podcasts, which is what I do, or with Spotify. And I also want to mention, as we always do, our music that we're using. It's the track Gunslinger by the band Ends of the Earth. So we want to thank them for letting us use their music. And we look forward to checking in again with you in 2 weeks in our next edition of Inside the 1581.